Welcome, Minister Collins, and you're very welcome here today. And I know the next one is in the name of Senator Pauline Tully, the need for the Minister for Education to make a statement on the shortage of appropriate school places for children with additional needs in Cavan. Senator Tully.
Minister, I attended a meeting last week in a primary school in my constituency, and there's another one coming up very soon, which is actually combining a number of primary and secondary schools together. And there's a number of issues were raised at that meeting, and I know will be raised at the meeting next week. But the first one and the main one was the lack of suitable and appropriate school places for children with additional educational needs, specifically or especially autistic children, but all children with additional educational needs. One parent at the meeting said her son is in 6th class, he's autistic. She has been applying to schools looking for a suitable school placement for him, and as yet has not been informed of whether there will be one available or not. Now, all of us with children, it should be just taken as granted that when you apply to schools for them to transition from primary onto secondary school, that there will be sufficient places to accommodate their needs in their locality. Unfortunately, for children with additional needs, that isn't the case. And more often than not, we come to September and there are many students without school places at the start of the school year. I think there were 120 this year. That has reduced over the last few months, but there are still students who do not have a secondary school placement at the moment and are being educated at home, and that's not fair whatsoever. So this comes down to a severe lack of planning, and there needs to be much better cooperation and consultation between the NCSE and the Department of Education to ensure that this doesn't happen going into the future. But one of the teachers there was a special education teacher. She was put into the position of teaching in an autistic class. She had absolutely no training in teaching special education. Most teachers don't. It's not included in their primary degree. And I have to say, all of the teachers that are asked to teach in a special class do their utmost to actually upskill. And she did, in her own time, at her own expense, upskill to ensure that she knew what she was doing. But that's not fair, and we need to see both continuous professional development for all teaching staff, but we also need to see specified degrees in special education being rolled out in this country to ensure that our staff are trained to deal and to be able to educate children who have additional needs, because they are wide and varied. Every child has different needs. But one thing she did point out was that prior to the setting up of the CDNTs, members of the children's development teams used to call to the school, and these were OTs, physiotherapists, speech and language therapists, and they would actually advise her and the SNAs there on practices that they could use and should use with the children. They would devise plans around the child's specific needs. That has not happened since the establishment of the CDNTs, and what makes this even worse is that the community supports that did exist for children prior to 2021 do not exist now in any shape or form. All of the parents at that meeting were able to say that their child had not seen an OT, a speech and language therapist or a physiotherapist since prior to, probably since 2019, since the child development teams were actually disbanded along with the early intervention teams in favour of the CDNTs. That structure is not working and needs to be replaced. And I think, and it's something I've been advocating for quite some time through committees and in the Dáil as well, is that there should be in-school therapies for children. And they should be in special schools, but they should also be in mainstream schools where there are special classes attached to it. And you could have a cluster of schools who would access support from a number of professionals who would go into the school, meet the children, devise plans to help them with their needs, and instruct both the teachers and the SNAs how best to help educate those children. Because as they pointed out, many of the children in their class, autistic class in the school, are either pre-verbal or non-verbal. And the biggest problem is the frustration that they cannot communicate what their needs are to the teachers, and that causes all sorts of problems, including self-harm and harming of other students and of staff, and it needs to be addressed. Thank you.
Seanad Tully. Anara.
Thanks, Chair. I'd like to thank Senator Tully for raising this important matter. The National Council for Special Education, which is the NCSE, has responsibility for coordinating and advising on the education provision for children nationwide. The Department of Education and the NCSE have introduced a number of strategic initiatives to plan for and provide sufficient mainstream special classes and special school places. We know demand for new special classes at post-primary level is expected to increase significantly over the next few years due to the increasing demographics and increasing prevalence rates, and the Department and the NCSE have engaged with post-primary stakeholders in relation to the provision of special classes. In October of 2022, the Department wrote to all post-primary schools requesting that each school begin planning to provide for up to 4 special classes to meet the needs of children progressing from primary learning. Last October, the Department issued a circular to all schools setting out new measures to support the forward planning of special education provision. As a result of this forward planning, 5 new special schools will open for the 2025-26 school year, including 1 in County Monaghan. This is the first special school in County Monaghan, which up to now was serviced by the special school in Cootehill in Cavan. This should ease the pressure in terms of application to the special school in County Cavan. Capacity has been expanded in a number of other special schools around the country. The NCSE have today sanctioned 209 new special classes, 138 at primary and 71 at post-primary level for opening in the coming year 2025-2026. 4 of these new classes are in County Cavan, 1 at primary level and 3 at post-primary level. These will be added to the existing 59 classes currently in operation, and 46 at primary level and 13 at post-primary level. The NCSE are engaging intensively with more schools and school patron bodies to confirm further new special classes in the coming period. The NCSE have recruited additional special education needs organisers, CNOs, advisors and team managers. A total of 120 CNOs now operate nationwide, almost double what we had previously. Cavan now has 2 CNOs dedicated solely to supporting schools and parents in the county. CNOs play an important role in ensuring there is adequate special educational provision within local areas and support families to secure placements for children. I want to assure the Senator that both the Department and the NCSE will continue to monitor and review the need for further new special classes and schools or the provision of existing special schools over the coming months and years ahead.
Senator Tully. And Minister. Look, the opening of new schools and new classes is always welcome, and I do welcome the new special school in Monaghan. It is badly needed. In fact, it was an area, it was only 1 school between Cavan and Monaghan was definitely needed, though I do urge you to ensure that that school is actually established in a suitable premises and not one that was deemed unsuitable for students some years ago. But look, we do need more a lot more work, because as you say that we know demand is increasing. So if the government know and the NCSE know that the demand is increasing, like there should be plans in place and to ensure that there are sufficient school places for all students as they enter from or transition from be it preschool to primary school and then from primary school into secondary school. But that is not actually happening at the time. In relation to CNOs, there are insufficient CNOs. I think they're overworked. We need more. I don't like when I was teaching. There was a senior, the senior assigned to the school where I was teaching, knew every student who attended that school and their families, and there was in regular contact with them about where they should be going to school and what their needs are. That's not the case now. A lot of families do not even know who the CNO is for their area, and that needs to be addressed as well.
Seanad, before I call on the Minister, I'd just like to welcome the transition year students who are here with the Office of the Ombudsman. You're very welcome today. Sure.
So, just in conclusion, to say it's a priority for this government to ensure that all children have an appropriate school placement and that the necessary supports are provided to all our schools to ensure the needs of children with special educational needs are met. It's important to remember that the vast majority of children with special educational needs are supported to attend mainstream classes with their peers. To support children with more complex needs, special classes in mainstream schools and special schools are provided. In 2025, over €2.9 billion will be spent supporting children with special educational needs. This figure builds on the previous years and represents over a quarter of the total education budget. It will provide for, amongst other things, 400 new special classes, 300 new special school places. It will also increase our special educational posts by 768 special education teachers and 1,600 special needs assistance SNAs posts nationwide. The NCSE continues to assess what additional provision is required in local areas and what schools have capacity to accommodate the required provision. As the NCSE progresses the sanctioning of new classes over the coming weeks, they will advise parents in turn on the location of new special classes for the 2025-2026 school year.
Karma, good, Ara.